Murphy's line of questioning is very intentional from the start. He doesn't begin with accusations. Instead, he starts with a basic principle, the rules set by the Federal Trade Commission about disclosure. These rules are actually simple, but extremely important. If you are promoting a product and getting paid for it, you must clearly tell your audience. That transparency is what allows people to judge whether a recommendation is genuine or financially motivated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Dr. Means. Dr. Means, are you familiar with FTC policy that requires those who are recommending products online to disclose their financial connection to those companies? In particular, the document from the FTC says this: if you endorse a product through social media, your endorsement message should make it obvious when you have a relationship with the brand. Are you familiar with that?
Certainly.
That guidance? As you know, there is a pending complaint regarding your failure to adhere to those guidelines that basically makes the contention, and this committee has verified the data that underlies their complaint, that you routinely violated this policy, and that, in fact, in the majority of your posts for many of the products you recommend, you did not transparently reveal your financial connection. Let me give you an example.
That's false.
Well, I'll give you an example. So there's a prenatal vitamin called WeNatal. Your filings before this committee show that you started receiving compensation in the spring of 2024. And yet in September of 2024, you posted a video saying that you had no financial relationship to the company, just a big fan. And then in October, you said, not sponsored, just love these. But in fact, you have documentation before this committee that showed when you said those things, you had a financial relationship. You had already started receiving money from that company. So you weren't telling the truth when you said you were just a fan. You were actually receiving money, correct?
In any post where I said I am not receiving money, I had not been receiving money at that time.
But you had received partnership fees for this particular prenatal vitamin. In fact, prior to September and October, you had posted partnership links in which you get compensated based upon click-throughs, correct?
I'm happy to look at whatever documentation you're talking about, but I do not, it's incorrect and it's a false representation. And just to be very clear, I've spent the last several months working with the Office of Government Ethics to be fully compliant with this process. I take it very seriously. Before, during, and after, if I am in office, I will be in full compliance with the Office of Government Ethics. I think, as I've talked about, conflicts of interest are incredibly important to rectify if we're in public service, and I am fully committed to continuing to work with them.
So let me give you some other examples. Function Health, which is your lab testing platform, data shows that you disclosed your partnership with them less than a third of the time that you recommended their services online. Genova Diagnostics, you disclosed your sponsorship in only 2 of the 9 times that you promoted Genova. Daily Harvest, you disclosed your sponsorship in only 3 of the 14 posts recommending that product. Zen Basil Seeds, you disclosed your partnership only 2 out of the 13 times that you recommended the product. This seems systemic. It seems that in the majority of instances in which you were, as a medical professional, recommending a product, you were hiding the fact that you had a financial partnership. You seem to be in regular willful violation of the FTC rules. That is concerning, as someone who agrees with Senator Cassidy, that our focus has to be on restoring trust in the medical profession. And yet, over and over again, you seem to be at scale recommending products without telling your followers. And you have 200,000 newsletter subscribers. You have almost 1 million Instagram followers. And in only 3 out of 14 times on Daily Harvest, when you were promoting Daily Harvest, you disclosed that you're getting paid by them?
It sounds like you have a lot to say about this issue, and I would be very interested to see how your staff looked at this data. I have a strong feeling that the way in which they gathered this data is done intentionally to create these claims that you're making.
Well, I have the backup here. I mean, will you acknowledge that in many instances when you were promoting these products, you did not disclosed that you had a financial relationship?
I don't think that's true. If it has happened, if it inadvertently has happened, I would rectify that immediately. However, I would be interested to see how your staff gathered
I'll
this
be
data.
happy to send it to
And
you
I
all.
will conclude by saying
I'll
that
send
I
it to
take
all the committee
conflicts.
members. I mean, it's pretty incontrovertible evidence.
I take conflicts of interest incredibly seriously. I've worked diligently with the Office of Government Ethics to make sure that conflicts are addressed thoroughly.
By getting means to acknowledge that standard first, Murphy is laying the groundwork. He's establishing that this isn't about opinion, it's about compliance with a widely accepted rule. Once that foundation is set, he shifts from principle to evidence, and that's where the exchange becomes more serious. Murphy presents a specific example involving a prenatal supplement, pointing out a timeline that appears inconsistent. According to the documents, Means had already begun receiving compensation, yet publicly described herself as having no financial relationship. This is where the issue moves from abstract ethics to a concrete credibility question. If the timeline is accurate, then the concern isn't just about incomplete disclosure, it's about whether followers were actively misled.